Hey everybody, I'm Brandon. You're watching the ADHD Game Dev channel. Let's get into it. We don't even have time for an intro. Every now and again, I'll do these little diary intro, heart to heart, just sharing my thoughts. And I usually start out saying, gosh, this is ill-advised. I should just keep that to myself and just try to push the old algorithm to make me more popular. But I'd rather talk to people in a more serious and authentic way about game dev and about ADHD concerns and all of these things. I'd rather have people watching and interacting here who actually get it and have a snowball's chance of succeeding. You're the core audience and you're the people I want to talk to, because at the end of the day, most of the people who express an interest in game dev aren't actually going to do it. And even fewer of those are actually going to have any degree of success. These are the thoughts I should keep to myself. It's no way to drive a thriving YouTube channel, is it? Woohoo! Join the channel. You're probably not going to succeed. The reason this channel exists is to increase your odds and to give you a realistic chance of your expectations and to help you actually achieve your dream instead of keeping it as a dream, okay? So I believe in the unvarnished, no BS approach where I'm going to tell you what actually happens, what you're actually going to be doing, because in game dev, what you're doing is spending a whole lot of time in a repetitive kind of emotion in an isolated, often lonely kind of a way, just looking at your computer and screaming at code that won't behave right and trying the same thing over and over and over and over and testing and testing and testing and testing. You guys have probably seen my dungeon game dev logs, and I sit here looking at them. I'm not crazy. I look at them and I go, boy, I'm still showing the same exact level. People are probably getting bored. They want to see, go do more flashy stuff, and you want to see the flashy end result. I don't blame you. That's what YouTube is all about, okay? That's fine. That's fine. But I do want to be realistic with you and tell you that's not what game dev is all about. Okay? The flashy end result is not what game dev is all about. That's where your vision starts out, and you might have an idea about what you want it to be in the end, but then it's going to bang up against reality about what you are actually able to create and what you are actually seeing come to life. In front of you. It's this push and pull thing that happens, I think, in art in general, when you have an idea in your head and you get a pencil and start drawing it on paper and it doesn't work out the way you wanted it to, because whatever is in your head is actually not real. It's very vague and fluid. It's not as solid as you thought it was. And when you start drawing it out, it changes what you saw in your head, and the reality of what you're creating starts to become what you're actually able to accomplish. That's what happens in game dev. You might have an idea of some pie-in-the-sky grandiose idea, and you're not able to actually achieve it. And you're going to be hit with this crossroads, this reckoning that's going to happen in your mind to say, I don't know if this is worth it to me or not, and I don't know if I can accomplish my goals or not. And you're going to have to decide whether you're actually happy with what you're creating and you're satisfied with what you're making, not because you're trying to hit metrics, not because you're trying to sell it to the world, not because you're trying to make the next MMORPG, because if you are, I would advise you to stop. That's my actual advice. I would advise you to find something that you are able to create and to be happy with what you are creating, to create what you love and to love what you're creating. Something I want to emphasize a little bit more is that I've said it before that it's a smarter thing to make smaller games, and I'm tweaking that. I'm tweaking that a little bit. And my philosophy is changing to right-sized ambition. There's something to that. There's something to that. We should talk about it. We should talk about that. Right-sized ambition. To have an ambition to make something that you actually have a chance of creating and finishing and publishing, either to share with other people or at least for your own satisfaction. But for me, I don't think a video game is really done until I have the chance to share it with other people, because why would you do a painting and just not let anybody else see it? You don't make a painting then put it in the closet. You hang it on the wall because you want others to enjoy it. You don't have to rent out a gallery, but you put it on your wall, right? Because you're happy with what you made. You don't write a book and then not try to publish it. You write it for other people to read it. And a game doesn't really have that breath of life until somebody else can play it and experience what you made. And there's such a learning and a push and a pull about what other people are saying and experiencing, and to have this next level of experience that goes beyond I sat there and made a character move to wow, people are interacting and responding to something I made. That's an amazing next level kind of experience. It's really cool. I enjoy it. But if you're just starting out into game dev and you're wondering if it's for you, I would say that you're going to have to be okay with long periods of quiet. Of me, I try to get rid of the quiet by blasting loud music in my ears. But to the outside world, I'm just sitting here like that. Okay. You have to be okay with tedious stuff. You have to be okay with repetitive stuff. And I think probably my autistic viewers out there are probably going to go, yeah, man, that's for me. God bless you. You guys are so cool. You guys are so cool. And there's a different approach to video games that is part art, part science. So the people who come at it from an artist kind of a vibe will get a different result than the people who come at it from more of the science coder nerdy kind of side of, can I make the code do something cool? And there are whole games that are a lot more code strong and other games that are a lot more art strong. And there's room for all of us to be here. There's room for all of us to be here. But if I can give you some advice and encouragement, it would be not to bemoan small accomplishments and not to say it's not good enough, not to cut your legs out from under yourself before you have a chance to stand. Don't get in your own way and decry your own small achievements. You should be proud of what you're making. You should like what you're making. You should be your first cheerleader. You should be your first fan. You have to believe in yourself before anybody else will be. And if all you've done is to get a character moving left or right and they're animating and they look nice and that puts a smile on your face, that should be something to bring satisfaction to you as a creator. And I hope that it really does. But before you get ahead of your skis and say, I'm going to make something grandiose, realize that getting into this, there is a whole lot of tedious, quiet doing and redoing and redoing and redoing. And it is one of those things where sometimes it feels like you have to get it 75% finished before you start believing that it's actually going to turn into anything. It's a trust the process kind of thing. And I see devs who I feel like give up on their project and they walk away when it's just starting to get good. And I've certainly been guilty of that because it probably feels like a big mess before it starts to look really awesome. So to trust that process and to keep going. But in a large sense, in a very real sense, I'll wrap it up here, guys. In a real sense, I think that's what the YouTube here, the ADHD Game Dev channel is about, is for me to be able to share with you those small victories and those small steps and to have the encouragement that I feel like a lot of times I need that pat on the back or somebody to look at what I did. But in truth, that's not always doing you a big favor because you have to be the one encouraging yourself. You have to be the one patting yourself on the back. You have to be the one who is okay with a long, tedious dev session where it doesn't look very fancy. I've posted videos out here where I'm saying, I reworked an inventory system and you can't see it, but behind the scenes, it's really cool. If you're going to have any hope as a game dev, you have to think that that's cool. That's the truth of it. That's the truth of it. You have to be willing to look at some structural systemic change that you made in your game and go, ooh, that's neat. I'm presently really pleased. Presently really pleased. Hey, look, tongue twisters for me. I'm presently pleased because I was able to get a treasure chest to spawn an object instead of just orienting an object behind a locked treasure chest, which is what I was doing because it was simple and I was making progress. But I came back and revisited it, and now I've got code that spawns an object, and I've got an inventory system that actually tracks the data points and everything. It doesn't look cool. There's no flashiness. There's no visual change in the world, but it's exciting to me. That's what game dev is actually all about. That's what's actually going on. And it's about learning some new code that you didn't know before and going, ooh, that's neat. I personally didn't understand arrays, and now I absolutely adore arrays. Who knew that I could be such a nerd? I'm more the artsy kind of a guy, not the coding, nerding, techie brain guy. But it turns out I love arrays. There's a whole world for you to fall in love with if you'll let yourself. I invite you along to the journey as I continue here doing it and learning, and I hope that I'll be an encouragement to you. So this is a brass tacks kind of a reality check kind of a thing. Before you go too far down the road in game dev, I want you to know that I'm not going to just gloss over all of this and pretend like we just get the flashy results and here's the sizzle reel. That's not what game dev actually is. So if you're willing to take yourself seriously and give yourself a chance, you do have a chance of succeeding. I hope to encourage you, and I want to see what you make. You guys have a great day. Be awesome.